Like, I do hang out in Ballard. I know. You don't call me. No, I know. Yeah. Well, you're taken.
Welcome to Rail Talk. I'm Emily Alexander.
I'm Nolan Adams.
I'm Alex Siegel. Let's get started with, well, this is the Grand Prix, right? No better event on the calendar at the Jerry Baker Memorial Velodrome, except maybe this year Junior Nationals, but we'll get to that in a bit. The Grand Prix, it's a classic.
The grandest of them all.
The grandest of them all, or as our esteemed announcer Corey would say, the Grand Prix, because he fancies it.
So we're here at the GP, the best and most exciting racing of the calendar here at the Velodrome. The GP goes back to somewhere in the early 2000s, and we are privileged to say that it's been equal payout for men and women in the fields since day one here, and big part of what we do here is the equitableness across all the fields. And so, but let's talk a little bit about the racing.
Yeah.
Give me a little breakdown. What does the weekend look like in total, and who are the people that showed up?
Yeah, so we have two events primarily making up the sprint omnium for both men and women. That's the match sprints as well as the Kieran. So those events actually, they start in the mornings. You basically knock down to kind of your most elite riders that get to race in the evening session in both of those. And then we also added for I think the first time this year, the Merrymore Crawl as a contributor to the omnium. In past years, we've had the scratch race. And once you saw the quality of sprint fields that we've started to get in recent years, the scratch race is just not a place for our sprint riders. So yesterday for the men, we had the sprints that was won by Wyatt Hall, local rider, recently crowned Kilo national champion. So he is an animal of some form of lizard variety, and great racing from him. In second was Noah Mandow. So Noah is racing for the Star Trek team. I've seen him in LA, I've seen him in T-Town. He seems to be all over the place, and he sure was that this week. You know, known as a great racer, not necessarily the best qualifier. He ended up qualifying 8th, but made it all the way into the 1-2 final. Phenomenal racing from him. I believe he is right there at the top on collegiate nationals as well, so great work. He also is, if I'm not mistaken, a German and or Hungarian national, so adding some of that international flavor to our racing here. And in third is Mateo Morasis. Mateo, an Argentine national champion as well, collegiate national champion in addition, and he was also our GP sprint winner last year. So absolutely stacked top 3 of that field.
I want to pause just a sec. For those of you at home who are unfamiliar with that race you mentioned earlier, the Merrymore Crawl, Emily, give me a little background here. What's that all about?
All riders are welcome to participate. You start in turn 4, roll off the rail. You are not allowed to put a foot down, touch the rail, touch another rider, or cross the finish line for some unknown amount of time. Track stand, you slow roll, you do whatever you can to stay on the track. And then once the bell rings, it is 1 lap. The fastest lap you have ever tried to do. And in a race like tonight, there is cash money on the line. A lot of the time it is just pure pride, and sometimes a really sweet jersey. So it's a very fun race. Great spectator race.
Sounds like with a 1-lap effort, it is probably more likely to be won by one of the sprintier folks.
Yes, usually. I mean, it takes someone, though, that does have patience and is able to track stand for a really long time.
Not always, no, the sprinter's not always known for their patience.
That's true, yes.
Hey, now.
But I can see how it would be included in the sprint omnium. I think that's a welcome addition compared to the scratch race in years past. Fun to watch as always. I can't track stand to save my life, so I'm always watching, but always a good time. Nice inclusion by the race committee.
And while we are so seamlessly on this topic of the Merrymore Crawl, the winner of both crawls, both Friday night and Saturday night, was none other than Louis Bonilla. You said it is a race for the sprinters, so Louis is the current national champion for the juniors in the sprints. I saw him racing down at Elite Nationals in LA last week. He has a phenomenally good start, so no surprise to see him really basically cleaning up in both those races. On to the, I'd say, other main event for the men's sprint omnium, which is the Kieran. We basically have a lot of the same suspects. So Noah Mandau, he drew the moto in both the semifinal and the final, which, as I know, having watched him from a couple of places, is how he likes to ride, and the man is a motor. He wins that from the front. Great ride from him. In second, shout out to a Waterline teammate of mine, Corey Jamieson. Corey on the back of taking bronze at the Elite National Championships. Another great Kieran ride for him to pick up second. And then again, Wyatt Paul in third. So super high quality field. That led us to a men's overall sprint omnium where Noah Mandau takes the win, both because he got one place of separation over Wyatt in that Kieran, but also because he picked up points in the crawl. Wyatt Paul was in second, and then Mateo Marasas takes third for the omnium.
So with the excitement of the men's sprint omnium, we also had the women's sprint omnium going on, where, I mean, same races. So you had sprints, Kieran, and crawl. You know, how'd that shake out?
So the crawl, because it was an open race, actually, I don't think we had any of our women sprinters taking points in that. But so the focus was really on the Kieran sprint. What you saw in our women's sprint omnium was also just, like, I'd say, a diversity of really talented overall riders. In our sprint tournament event, that was won by McKenna McKee. So McKenna is actually a Washington native from basically down near Portland, Vancouver, Washington. She is also the, I think, 2-time consecutive U.S. Elite National Champion. She also won the Kieran, but we'll get to that in a minute. So she took the win there over Emmy Savard. Emmy Savard is a rider on kind of the Canadian National Development Program, real up-and-coming talent, super young, and getting really, really fast. And then in third was Diane Snowblin, who is coming from the Burnaby Velodrome as well. Sorry, not that Emmy is coming from Burnaby, but another Canadian, and yeah, Diane up in Burnaby. In the Kieran, so that was an interesting race because there was a little bit of contact with just under a lap to go, which basically ripped all the spokes out of McKenna's wheels. So McKenna DNF'd, and if you've ever seen a sprinter, we often use straps to hold our feet in. And when your bike stops working and you're strapped to your bike, you just have to go into the infield and basically flop like a turtle. Never seen a turtle flop, but that's what I imagine they look like. Unfortunately,
Words right out of my mouth. Flop like a turtle. Couldn't have said it any better.
So despite the mishap, so that race was won by Diane Snowblin. Also in second place, really strong ride from Jenna Lingwood, and then Emmy Savard in third. So, you know, Diane and Jenna both known as really versatile, strong riders. That led to our overall sprint omnium. In first place, Diane Snowblin. Second place, Emmy Savard, and then in third, Jenna. So fantastic sprint fields this year on both the men's and women's side. Exciting racing to see. Well, since I don't have the attention span to look at the races that go more than, say, 2 laps, tell me what happened in our enduro fields, please.
Yeah, so we, just like our sprint omnium, we had an endurance omnium where we had scratch races. We had a 5-mile scratch for the women, 10-mile scratch for the men, long points races, and then elimination races. And I mean, all of those are about 15 to 20 minutes long, if not longer. So again, it really does kind of push that limit. Also in the scratch races, there were some hefty preems getting thrown out there to kind of entice some folks to pick up the speed. And for the men's enduro, Nolan, you were in it. How'd it go?
I was in and amongst it at times. We had a lot of folks coming in from countries and states that were not local, and absolutely just, I would say, blowing things apart in a great way. I'm at our cheat sheet here, and I'm seeing a lot of similar names in the men's endurance omnium top 3s. I would say, yeah, almost entirely made up by 3 names. That's going to be Daniel Brewer, Clever Martinez, and Zach Kowalczyk. And just absolutely crushed. And so exciting to watch. just a league above, certainly. And they really showed it. In the elimination for the elite men, Dan Brewer had an incredible performance, going solo somewhere final third of the race, and everyone else sort of duking it out in the back. When in doubt, go solo, because YOLO, I think is what the children say somewhere.
Absolutely
not here. But incredible performance.
Yep.
And really kind of setting the tone for the rest of the weekend.
That's right, yep.
Next race up was the points race. Similar sort of vibes. Dan goes up the road, followed by, I want to say, Martinez, Kowalczyk, Chris Wilson, local guy, and Dylan Lawson, my boy. All right.
Rider coming from the Atlanta area to join us.
Yes.
Get off the front. Good ride from him.
Yeah, incredible performance there as well. Hanging with the folks who are, rounding out all the podiums, really. And they just sort of cleaned up all the points. They never made the lap. They never got the plus 20 there. The field sort of just floundering around in the background, just taking poles, trying to not get lapped, which is admirable. Yeah, the three, Dan Brewer, Clever Martinez, and Zach Kowalczyk going 1, 2, 3 in the points race. And you will not be shocked to hear that the scratch race today had a similar sort of breakdown. Group of 4 or 5 went up the road.
Yep.
With how many laps to go was it roughly? Maybe 5, 6, 7 laps to go. The field sort of saying, oh boy, they pulled out a gap. It was really quickly over 100 meters, maybe 150 meters after 2 laps. And that is, at the pace that we were going, an unbridgeable gap. I mean, even if you could make the bridge, you would be so gassed, you'd have nothing left for the sprint. And so it was sort of a 5 up roughly for the final. Dan Brewer had a late attack, but Zach Kowalczyk coming over the top of that even to nip it at the line. Zach Kowalczyk, a storied rider from Portland, formerly of Team USA and those sorts of things. And I believe he's won the scratch out here 4 or 5 times maybe over the years. So he snags another one ahead of Dan Brewer. Clever Martinez rounding out the podium in 3rd there.
Emily, one of my favorite things about the Grand Prix is just that it brings so much talent from across the country, across the world. We've got some savvy, smart, cunning racers. Tell me a little bit more about some of those gentlemen who've landed on our Enduro podium.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got, like we've said, Dan Brewer, Cheney Windows and Doors, huge track team that comes out to any big event that is out there. I know that he's been doing amazing things at National. He's got a closet full of medals from Georgia, so coming a long way out to this event. But he's been coming out pretty regularly the last couple of years and performing really well and just really animating the racing. Clever Martinez, I think out for the first time, but we were super excited to be able to get onto his schedule because he is otherwise usually very busy following the crit scene. And then Zach Kowalczyk, where Zach has been at this event for years and is always someone to watch. Every time he shows up, you know that he is going to animate a race. He's going to make it fast. And that was our men's enduro podium. Dan Brewer coming in 1st, Clever Martinez in 2nd, and Zach Kowalczyk rounding it out in 3rd.
All right, well, Emily, tell me about some of the fantastic racing we had in our women's enduro field. I see a lot of different names on this board.
Yes, no, we had a lot of, like you said, different names showing up and throwing down this weekend. In our elimination, we had a bit of a split, kind of like what we saw in the men's, but with slightly larger groups kind of getting away. Again, getting off the front though, safer bet than trying to stay on the back. And so from there, Diane Snoblin able to take the win in that race against Kimberly Chen, and also just ahead of Jenna Lingwood.
I will make a note here. Kimberly Chen on her way to Junior Worlds, somewhere in Asia. China. Producer said China.
I'm a co-host, not a producer, but hey, that's okay.
That's pretty exciting. I was actually unaware that existed at all. That I'm just out of touch, getting older, as one does. But that's pretty, I'm stoked for Kimberly. Good result here today, and we look forward to seeing how she does over there in China.
Yeah, and then in the points race, or excuse me, we'll jump to the scratch. We'll save the points race because that was a very exciting finish to the end of the night here. Scratch race was 5-mile scratch, and in that, again, preems getting thrown out in that race to keep things fast, and a name that you've heard us mention before in a tactic that she has used previously, which is after a bit of a lull after a preem, Alexi Snover took an opportunity to get off the front and was able to connect with Tori Park, who also had been off the front for a bit, and worked together for I think 3 or 4 laps, and then Alexi was able to kind of ride Tori's wheel, and then in the final lap come around. And so Alexi taking the win in the scratch, Tori Park taking second, and Eva Lynn taking the field sprint for third.
Couple extra notes on the top 2 riders in that race. Alexi Snover, she's been out maybe 4 or 5 times so far this year, always on a rental bike. This weekend though, I think she's got her own bike now with some of her own gear, looking a little faster, looking a little more aerodynamic, and that really showed. Also, I think the racecraft has really leveled up after a couple nights out here, and she's taking her experience. She's coming from the Talent Factory, taking her road experience on a DET team, domestic elite team, that travels the country doing some pretty intense racing, pretty high level racing, and she's really bringing it out to the track, and some good results here. Tori Park here in second as well, just off of a couple of top 10s down at Elite Nats with where you were, Alex, a couple weeks ago, and taking in second place. And I see a bright future for both of them, continuing to elevate as they're both very new to the track.
Oh yeah.
So tell me more. Let's final here. You said the points was maybe the most exciting race of the night.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of opportunities for lead changes. Alexi Snover, again, taking an opportunity in a bit of a lull after one of the point sprints to go off the front and start to scoop up just 5s and 3s and really start to build a lead. Creating a break of about 5 riders, and again splitting the field up a bit. At the same time, Tori Park able to be in that move, picking up points every single time, creating a little bit of chaos for some folks behind who in the very first sprint had picked up 5 and 3, and they really just kept the pressure on the entire points race. And into the final sprint, Tori Park came through, scooping up 10, not quite enough though to leapfrog in front of Alexi. So final in that points race, Alexi taking first, Kimberly Chen, again, super fast junior, taking second, and then Tori Park taking third.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, I think when Tori got that final 10 points, Kimberly looked like she had it, and then Tori made a great run. And that was going to be the difference, because if Kimberly had taken that final sprint, she would have taken the win. So everything changed in those last 50 meters. Big time racing there. Yeah.
Tori saved Alexi's race.
Tori saved Alexi's
She owes her a couple of bucks there, I bet, Ben.
Yeah.
You heard it here.
Well, and Tori, I think, was immediately into our beverage garden, helmet on still, bolted across. So, great race.
You got to get the carbs in right after activity. That's the most important. It's a critical time.
Yeah,
critical time for
super
recovery.
Impressive. I mean, I'm like on my back on the grass after something like that, and yeah, she bolted across. So
Would you say you just flopped like a turtle?
I might flop like a turtle.
Flop like a turtle.
Yeah.
Gotta write that down. All right, so let's wrap this up. Women's Omnium, the Endurance Omnium in particular. Some names we've been talking about. In third place, Jenna Lingwood. We've actually only mentioned once so far in the race breakdown, but super consistent across all 3 races. I think 3rd, 4th, and 5th, respectively.
Also
but that
participated in both the Enduro and Sprint Omnium.
Was on both podiums.
Yes.
3rd place in each podium.
Yes.
Or sorry, in each Omnium. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, then Jenna deserves an extra special shout out. That's pretty unusual.
She also,
I'm not
she
sure
also
I've ever
took
seen
the
that.
superhighway straight to the beer garden after racing as well.
That recovery. I should take a note from that.
Yeah.
So Jenna Lingwood in 3rd overall in the Women's Enduro Omnium, followed by Kimberly Chen, the super fast junior going to Worlds, and topped off here by Alexi Snover. incredible performance here on what is maybe the second month on the track. So really exciting to watch all around, and a great night.
Let's jump into our Beyond the Podium segment. So many races, we're just going to select a few, and our Beyond the Podium is not just about performances tonight on the track, though a little bit of that. Emily, tell me who you got.
So I'm giving my Beyond the Podium to Amara, our track director, but also our event director for this every single year. Really putting in a ton of work in this event, except in the Madison. She definitely shirked some of that. But here nor there, thank you to Amara for giving her all for this event year after year.
Thank you, Amara. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. That's a great pick. My pick for the evening on Beyond the Podium is going to be Stan Douglas. He has been in charge all year of our calorie intake in the form of food trucks and ice cream trucks and vendors and coffee carts and all these things. But he really showed up for the weekend. We had a plethora of delicious trucks? Food.
Desserts.
Food. I don't eat the trucks. The desserts and food and savories and sweets and drinks and all these things.
Burgers, Philly cheesesteaks, malasadas, tacos.
Oh my God.
It was awesome.
Did you have the tacos?
I did have a taco, actually, yeah.
Good, yeah. No,
Yeah.
All good. Thank you, Stan. Appreciate the hard work. Also, I will say, having all the great food keeps the fans happy too, and we like happy fans. So all in all, great weekend thanks to some calories.
Yeah, great crowds. I will say, since we're always going to dox the people that we are complimenting, I did ask Stan earlier this morning for a hold in the Kieran, and he just looked and said, I had a wild night last night. I'm sorry, I gotta go. So I had to find a new holder. But all the work he put in beforehand was phenomenal. Also, his kit's absolutely on fire. Miles Morales tonight, good looking stuff.
Indeed.
My pick is kind of all of our JV juniors riders, Jerry Baker Junior program. I'd say probably crowning moment was Gabriel Takagi taking the win in the Masters Cat 3 Omnium. Beat a Canadian who I believe may also be the Canadian junior national champion based on the jersey that I saw. That kid's been on fire. Just phenomenal racing all weekend from all of our juniors. I'm also going to throw in one more. I'm being screamed at right now. Surprise Beyond the Podium, because we love to give them a hard time. We have an entire outtake reel of giving Nolan a hard time, but I'm going to give you props because tonight, right after the elite men's scratch race, which was insanely fast, not record fast, but super fast, you rolled into the infield for about 7 seconds and were straight back into another scratch race. So congratulations
on being stupid.
Wow.
That's what it's all about, buddy.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah, showing that you finally put on some race wheels.
Yeah, I had a good time tonight. Thank you.
Good stuff. Well, friends, next on our calendar we've got Friday night racing coming up, but we are just 2 weeks out from Junior Track Nationals, August 1st through 4th here at the Jerry Baker Memorial Velodrome. I've seen a bunch of juniors flying at Elite Nationals down in LA last week. We've seen our local riders absolutely moving. It's going to be a fantastic race. We are still being shouted out, but I think we can keep talking as long as we want.
I actually have a real thing I want to mention here.